All right. So how are you today?
Good. Good stuff going on. We've got multiple meetups coming on, so I should share some of that information. Let me share my desktop here and get to the right place. Not that one. Let me see. We got so we got first one is at our friends at SAP in New York on the 13th. Uh, we have some really good speakers, but we are packed. I mean, we do not have a big venue, and are working on that. So there will be bigger venues for the future ones, but this is a really cool place. So it stinks that we don't have more space there, but yeah, we'll see. A lot of people will be maybe are virtual. Some people don't show up. The weather and the transit system in New York has been especially special. So, having triple the amount of people who want to go is good though. If there's people want to speak at future ones, definitely reach out. I've been talking to a couple of people, and the meetups fill up quickly, and we're looking at facilities in New Jersey as well for our Princeton one. And I got connected with an old friend who runs meetups at Bellworks, which is the former Bell Labs in New Jersey, which is one of the largest corporate facilities in North America. It is pretty insane. And they've got a really cool thing that they've turned the old Bell Labs offices into. It's this giant multi-use center with restaurants and stores, and also our friends in NVIDIA are there. So that might be a cool place to do some meetups. So if you can't make it to, if we run out of space at the New York ones, maybe you got to hop on a train, but everything's going to be recorded. So you're not missing out. I mean, it's nice to be there in person. So definitely sign up. I put the meetup registrations out there for the rest of the year for New York. Once we get the dates for Princeton and Bellworks, we'll put those there as well. But we have August 13th next week, September 24th, October 23rd, November 21st, and we've got December 10th. I think I have those in the unstructured data meetup, which is also same day on the 13th. We have one in South Bay, which you've got a lot of people signed up there too. And
So,
there's a lot of meetups.
so let's just talk a little bit about, what what people can expect when they come to this meetup, because I know there's a lot of new people that are coming up. So, um, I think there's some people that thought that meetups were just all done, but they're not. They're alive and kicking. So what happens at this unstructured data meetup?
Well, this one, I think what we do at the Unstructured Data Meetup is pretty unique and interesting. I mean, with most meetups, what's nice is it's not corporate, it's open source, it's people showing you cool technology. It's also a community, it's back and forth. So, we leave time for people who want to do a quick discussion on their project or mention open jobs or people looking for jobs. And again, if you have something cool, even if it's small, if you're like, I can't talk more than 5 minutes, we could squeeze in extra talks at most of these meetups. This one on the 13th is a little packed. We've got some really cool stuff going on. We've got time for networking, and this is a cool facility. SAP has really got a nice setup here in Hudson Yards, which is a cool part of New York near all the mass transit, so pretty easy to get to. We've got our friend Bill from Corbean, who has a very interesting technology that talks to Milvus, and he's going to show you that. He's a cool guy, and he's local to Jersey, so he'll probably be out at some of the local Jersey meetups as well. We've got
Nice.
a engineer from NVIDIA showing some really cool stuff that the Milvus and NVIDIA team are working on jointly on some of the CUDA enhanced vector search, which is pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah,
And
we've been working with Corey for a long time. Corey was one of the key engineers on Cagra, which we released a few months back with them. I guess more than that, probably the start of the year.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think what's happening with NVIDIA is just gonna keep continuing as they've sent me a device, and the ease of getting Milvus working with it is impressive. These NVIDIA equipment is amazing. I am very happy with what you can do there. So we'll
So
have
how many
more of that
hours have
coming.
you dedicated to playing with that device since you
Not
got it?
enough. More more than you should, but not enough. I mean, it's amazing. It's like having a small supercomputer that runs super quiet. I keep looking at it, I'm like, is it still running? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm running code on it. And I'm like, it's not loud. It's doesn't get super hot and it fits in your hand. It's amazing what they can have. And that's not even high end. The high end ones are, they're putting them in robots. I mean, if you haven't looked at them before, you really got to look at that stuff. And then we've
That's really
got,
amazing that,
it's fun
I
too.
mean, when you think about like, I think you and I talked about this last week, like, what is the edge? And the edge can be so many different things. And in some cases, you need the power of a GPU because you might have like, some pretty impressive models. You might have a lot of data on there because you might want to do, that impressive amount of processing very, very quickly and then send kind of results, back to the cloud.
Yeah, and what's nice is when you're disconnected, or if there's times you need to be disconnected, you still can operate and operate immediately. You think of a robot moving around, it's got to know when to stop and when to move around things, then
Yeah.
make decisions, interact with you. I mean, running large language models right there, running the vector search and storage right there. I mean, I think that's just going to get more and more as more real world use cases come in contact with these super enabled computers that just allow you to do amazing stuff. The amount of live video, audio, text streams, chat, everything you need to interact with, your local environment. And that can be in a drone, it can be in a truck. It's pretty amazing. And obviously, anything you could do in that small environment, imagine what you could do with a super powered server. And some of these servers are pretty small too. So, you move up slightly to a bigger edge, the edge where it's a phone or it's a little robot or it's something in your hand to a little computer that's, the size of a desktop that could be running an office, a manufacturing plant, or maybe, some big machine there,
Yeah.
that's not in the cloud, that's not in your data center. So, I mean, technically that's an edge. Like we've had
And
that,
then
I've had that in the past.
and then to complement, this whole edge, kind of use case, you've got Jacob, our friend Jacob from Voxel 51, which is, hey, it's all about computer vision, which is like something that, manufacturing has been working with for a long time.
Yeah, and that just keeps getting better and better. There's again, like every week, there's some new models out, and Meta has a new model for doing some advanced vision stuff that needs a GPU. So I'm looking to see if I could do that on the NVIDIA Orin, which I'm sure I can. So that's
Nice.
again in the list of cool stuff to do. Again, that's why you come out to the meetup to hear new stuff going on and to go, hey, I'm interested in something. There's a lot of room for collaboration through open source, through other projects. In our Princeton ones, we've been connecting people who are interested in learning more about vector search and AI with nonprofits that are looking for helpers. So you could have real world use cases because sometimes it's hard to get started when you don't have, data, or somebody goes, I really need this, or someone who could test your stuff. A lot of these times you're like, oh, cool, I did the hello world, but is that, how impressive is that? Is that how much am I learning there? But you can work on a real project. Again, with open source, we have Hacktober coming. You don't have to be a full-time engineer to be helpful. Working on documentation, doing testing, looking at bugs.
Yes.
There's a
I
lot.
mean,
Speaking at meetups, helping new meetups. We're talking to
yeah.
someone in India.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like the one thing we all complain about is the docs. So they no matter what project you work on, they can always use attention. Always. Because everyone's like building so quickly and we just don't have the time always to come up with the most detailed and precise docs, but man, sometimes it's so needed. I think I saw you helping out a Milvus user where our docs were missing some critical bits of information for our back.
Oh
And
yeah.
right, if you didn't like, go and check out the code itself and also talk to the engineer, you wouldn't have been able to help that person. So helping out with docs or even, and doesn't mean like just writing them, but even pointing out to the projects, hey, this doesn't seem right. This seems to be missing something is a world of help.
Yeah, being active on our Discord channel, being active in the GitHub, being active in Stack Overflow. There's so much ways that you benefit, not just in enhancing the project, learning more on your own, but making the project better for yourself and others is very nice to have. I mean, it just makes everything better. And those are if you're looking for work or looking to maybe move into vector database or LLM or modern AI stuff, that is a good place to get started. Because looking and seeing what's missing, if you can find what's a gap, that is a huge amount of importance, and that shows you have some critical skills there, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So this week we had the San Francisco meetup at GitHubs. Thank you so much, GitHub. You guys are always
Nice.
super gracious. And we had Marco and Mixbread AI talk, and their talks were primarily centered around multimodal RAG, but more around fine-tuning, and making sure that, these models really work with your data set and also I thought it was interesting that the mixed bread speaker also talked about, making sure that you don't accidentally kind of corrupt the data that you're using, to fine tune. And so being really careful with that. So that was really good. And then we had our own CEO who, was the first contributor of Milvus that came to talk. And actually, one thing that I didn't even know is that, we have this hierarchical storage architecture. So of course, like most, distributed database systems, we can support hot and cold storage. But what I didn't know is we actually use models ourselves to try to determine like what data should we put into cold storage and hot storage. So it's not just like
Nice.
something arbitrary, but we're actually, dog fooding,
Nice.
ML if you, which I thought was pretty interesting. So, um, we'll have to go and talk to the team members that are working on that because, like I said, I was surprised. I'm like, that's pretty rad.
Yeah, I think everyone is discovering the importance of machine learning and AI. And I think vector database is a unique thing because we need the embedding model. I mean, that is we need it as part of what we're doing, and it's in the blood. So that's I think a lot of interesting things will come out of as Milvus keeps evolving, getting into version 3 and 4 and 5. There's going to be by the time we're 2 or 3 years from now, I'm just gonna we're gonna be amazed what we can do then. And it is a good
Exactly.
time to get on board and start
Exactly.
learning Milvus before it becomes next generation. And I'm just picturing I'm gonna query by looking at something. I mean, like I I mean, we could do that now. That's actually not a bad demo, but there's just like there's no limits. It's
Yeah.
it's what people think of and then start working on. There's so many people involved. I keep seeing new startups. Like if you want to learn about and see, talk, and maybe even work at new startups in AI, come to the meetups. Going through the
Exactly.
list of people signing up, like someone reached out to me yesterday, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool startup. And then you
Yeah.
look at, oh, that's cool too. Like how many like are in every city? That's why I'm hoping to
Yeah.
get meetups other places. So if people want to, start up a meetup, we could definitely help them out because there's interesting stuff going on all over the world. I
Yeah.
think this
So
is the new
one of
dawn
the
of stuff.
one of the things that I do in San Francisco and in Palo Alto is I encourage the audience to I hand the mic over and I just encourage them, if you're looking for like a co-founder or you're looking for another engineer, there's probably somebody in the room. And it turns out we've actually connected a couple of people, which is
Nice.
pretty cool. So yeah, if you are in that situation, come to the meetup, and then Tim will be happy to hand the mic over to you so you can
Oh
see
yeah.
if your, future co-founder or future engineers are there. And then as Tim mentioned, like if you are working on a really interesting project, let's get you in front of the audience at a future meetup. Actually, um, that happened at the last Palo Alto meetup. I met Shri from Intuit, and he and his team are working on an open source project that I shared with you. Then they're actually going to come and talk about it at the next event, which we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've got a meeting with him because it's in the intersection of AI and streaming. And if people have seen some of my stuff, I have interest in streaming is you need fast data with the unstructured data with AI to get some of these future use cases where I need stuff right away.
And
I
it's
mean,
open source, right? What
and
they're
open
working
source. I
on.
love open source. I mean,
Yeah. And I understand
sharing,
that.
caring, community, get things
Yep.
done. I get to try it. Like you hide something and I can't try it and can't help you with it. I want to help you with your project. Let's share it.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's not even their like bread and butter, right? That's not a product that they sell at Intuit. It's just something that they use internally. And so it's, that's what's so beautiful about open sources. They're working on it for something else, and they're allowing other, people to use it in their projects.
Yeah, we've seen so many cool projects get born that way. From LinkedIn, you've got Kafka, a ton of these. Some come out of university studies, some come out of just people working on it, but some come out of companies go, we need a thing. Why not have it for everybody? It makes it more features. There's no reason not to open source something if it's going to be usable by other people. Especially
That's
get it
right.
out there early so there isn't seven competing ones because someone we see that because like, well, we needed this. Well, we needed this too. So we both came up with like enterprise schedulers and workflow tools. People wrote a lot of them, which a lot of
So,
them are really good, but it would have been better if everyone was working on one project. I mean, how awesome would that project be?
so what are we looking at now?
I am also speaking next week in New York, a couple days later at Microsoft Reactor, which is an awesome facility. So big thank for Microsoft and obviously their GitHub for making environments available for people to talk about these things. I mean, they host so many meetups. They are a very important for New York. I mean, because they have one of the nicest venues and it's a good size and it's right in Times Square, so you get to see Elmo, which is really nice for New York. So yeah, I'm speaking there because we're friends with AI Camp and they're pretty awesome people. I'm still trying to build a new AI camp in New Jersey. We're seeing how that's going. We see how that goes, but the New York one is pretty awesome. So I'm talking on a interesting thing. We were talking about computer vision, so and edge and vector database, and we put them all together. We have a Raspberry Pi very accessible edge device, not too expensive, enhanced with an AI kit that really speeds up their ability to do neural network inferencing. It's not anywhere near the NVIDIA, which is insane. Like I did that for my Olympic analogy. The gold goes to NVIDIA Orin, which gets over 200 tera operations per second, which is, like unbelievable. Like servers doing that are nice, but having it in your hand. Well, this one does 13, which is
How much
still,
is this one?
this is 13 for the Raspberry Pi
No,
AI kit.
dollars.
How
Oh,
much
it's
that?
$13?
No, it's $70 plus another $70 for the Raspberry Pi. I won't say what the NVIDIA Orin is, but it's not that. It's
But
still
so
affordable, but it's not $100.
so this is like $150. That's not bad for the processing
That's
power.
Yeah, and I mean I'm running Olama on there. I've got 8 gig of RAM, and this is pretty good. I mean, this is doing pretty close to real time, and we're doing accelerated pose estimations. You can see those cool little lines, see what's going on. I'm also tracking the eyes, storing that locally in a vector database, and also pushing it to our cloud because sometimes you want someone else to manage Milvus, especially for me. If I had, since these are so cheap, you probably don't want to put the database on there. It's not like the NVIDIA where you've got solid SSDs. You could add SSDs, but then it adds to the price and the temperature and size. But being able
So
to have hundreds
when are
of
you
these go to
gonna
the cloud,
Tim, when are you gonna build some kind of a solution to monitor the activity of your cats and make some
cats are
predictions?
impossible to monitor or predict. I think I need maybe 100 orange to do that. They are unpredictable, which makes them interesting. But that's not a bad idea. Could try to cat tracker. I don't know about predictions. I don't want to know how low that accuracy will be. Cat's going to be over there. I mean, we could see. Maybe you can learn the personalities of the cat because some of them, each one has their own kind of set of normal behaviors. Yeah, that might be something to look at. We'll see. I would do that with the NVIDIA though, because they with that extra horsepower, being able to run multiple cameras. Like on my old NVIDIA device, I was running 3 cameras at one point. I think with the new one, I think it supports 6 or 12.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that makes it not as small anymore when I have a field of 12 decent high definition cameras around it. But with video and audio and lots of different streams there. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this one is pretty simple, but what's nice is, accessible. If you want to get started, it's not a big lift to get started. And, you could still run LLMs on there, run vision models, run inference. I mean, we're talking you could do object detection, you could do segmentation, pose estimation. They're adding more models. It's pretty cool and open source just with some Python. And then I push the results besides into our nice vector database. I push it up to Slack channel, which is nice. So, something you might not be able to see because it's at the edge. You'd see it show up in a Slack channel. Again, distributed nature, trying to track down what's happening on one or more devices, wherever they may be, is interesting. So that's a little different talk from the normal one, but I thought that would be nice. Try to mix it up for AI camp because they see a lot of the same stuff.
The nice thing about this Raspberry Pi is that it can become a weekend project for somebody, right?
Oh yeah.
Because it's pretty inexpensive. And sometimes you just want to play with something and just getting a camera and having it, take images around the house. Like maybe even it's just like traffic, right? Like and then
Oh
trying
yeah.
to do something with that. It's a really easy project to get a really good sense of, how to work with these models and vector databases.
Yeah, and it's a fun one that's not too heavyweight. And you could start out with our free cloud environment. or you could run one in Docker, or you can run Milvus Lite. So, I mean, you have a couple of options here. Makes it pretty straightforward to be able to run these. You can run notebooks on there against the data. It's just nice, and it's pretty easy. And you can learn a lot on vision models, on vector database, Python, as much as you want. You could
Yeah.
add on to this, you know, and
You can
it's
even
getting
practice fine tuning, right? Like
oh
with just
yeah,
by
yeah.
grabbing some of that data that you're pulling in and change, to pick your favorite model and see what you can do to change its mind, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much of a limit even with something like this. And then usually, you'll run the Raspberry Pi. Like I'm connected here from my Mac. You know, between those two computers together, you've got a lot going on. Then you add maybe Zilla's Cloud, and now you've got three computer architecture to run your little side project, your learning project, and just taking even existing source code, fork it a little bit, put it in your own GitHub is a great way to build up your knowledge, build up your skills, and you may find some interesting stuff along the way that people haven't seen before. Because you'd be surprised how many people haven't gone beyond just running, a base example in there. There is a lot of, green space for you to work with where you might be the first person who did this. Like there's not a lot of people have done anything with this new Raspberry Pi AI kit. So there's definitely space out there for people to explore, learn new things, and hey, maybe get the next project that explodes on Hacker News.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just even like what we were talking about last week, right? Being able to see, all the things that might inform us about whether that geyser is going to explode. I mean, there's even
Oh,
stuff in our own backyards, right? Monitoring your pool, monitoring whatever it is in your backyard, being able to have it not with not just with sensor data, but also, with the cameras, try to figure out, what it could cause a certain event to happen is pretty fun stuff.
yeah, there's a lot that can happen in the real world, which makes it more interesting when you're working on some of these projects. One other thing that I've been just exposed to, and I'm going to be talking about today is .NET with Milvus. Now that's most people are using Python, and Python is great, a lot easier than most of these other languages. But, there's a lot of existing apps out there in C sharp and also other enterprise languages like Java. And Milvus works with them. You don't have to give up your enterprise day job to work with Milvus. It's not something weird in the corner. It plays
Yeah.
nice with all the enterprise tools, Kafka, Spark, all these things that you might be using already. You could add Milvus to the equation and start getting some interesting similarity search, working with unstructured data, start adding LLMs to your projects without having to learn a new language right away. Certainly it helps to know Python and use Python for things, but .NET is pretty full featured, and we
Yeah.
have
Well, it's been around for a while, right?
it there's a lot of libraries. The Milvus libraries work pretty fast. I was impressed on how quickly my tests with it have been running. And we could even host your cloud on Azure if you're all in on Microsoft, which there's a lot of models from Microsoft and OpenAI that you get access to when you're running on Azure. So not the worst place to run your apps. And then,
Yeah.
you could do it in C sharp, but you also do Python, but whatever language you like.
And I believe that the .NET team actually helped to contribute to this library too.
Yes, they have, and they're pretty excited about it. I think once you start using Milvus, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. I'm gonna use this. We have seen this at a lot of companies because it works and it has the flexibility you don't see elsewhere. Like you need multiple libraries, you need different indexes. It's just supported, and the engineering team is awesome. Like I was on Discord and someone's like, oh, it would be really good if we could import this type of file. And right then someone did a pull request and now that's something that might go into the project. It's just
That's
it's
cool.
yeah, there's so if you're thinking, oh, maybe something's missing, that's the value of open source. Your community cares. If I go to some big company and go, I want this feature, they'll go, okay, give us $1 million. You know, in open source, you go, this would be a really cool feature, and here's why. There's people go, yeah, that is a good idea, and someone will do it. Or maybe you could do it yourself. I mean, there's a lot of them. Or you're like, hey, I would definitely test this for you. That's awesome, and very needed in open source. When we were talking, how do you contribute? Having ideas, being able to test them for people, especially for things they might not have. Like I'm going to test out some use cases on the Orin and on the Raspberry Pi. So, you have something you're like, well, maybe people aren't interested in it, or maybe it's niche, it's not that big. You might be wrong. There might be a lot of other people interested in it, and they just didn't connect with the open source project to get it done.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned that you're in Discord quite a bit. You want to just let everybody know how they can join?
Yeah, let's see if I got the Discord link. I think that's in the bottom of most of my articles, but remember phone booths? They're still around. It doesn't work though, but they had it there, and I'm like, someone should put Raspberry Pi and Milvus there, so we'll record every call into a vector database and then upload it to a network, and then you'll get your call eventually. Okay, where is the Discord? I know I have it in here somewhere. Okay, here you go. Feel free to join the Discord. That is a funky link. We should put that in the bottom of the yeah, that just loads right there. We should put that in the post with this
Oh
video
yeah,
because
that's a good
because
idea.
you don't want to have to like F goes to uppercase F. I
Yeah.
mean, but it's also like I said, I try to put it in the bottom of all my articles,
Hmm.
so makes it easy. But it's Discord is pretty cool. I think we have this set up really nice. When you come in, introduce yourself, and you could ask a question right away. You can ask for help, and a lot of people do, and they get answered pretty quickly. Again, we try to go through there and help. There's also, you can ask AI if it's something you think is maybe pretty straightforward. You could go in there and get some automated help. As for help is real people helping you, but it doesn't hurt to do both. And we try to keep an eye on that. Like this is the one I was talking about, the bulk insert for bin logs. There's already a commit here for that.
That's nice. That's
Because someone's
nice.
like, I would really like to pull in a bin log as well as some other things. And, that was today at 2 in the morning. So that was probably worked on somewhere not in the East Coast United States.
But that's why open source is cool, right? Because you think you know all the features, and then you get surprised because someone's like, "Oh no, I'd like to bulk insert bin logs," and like, I didn't even think about that. Let's do it.
Yeah, or you just have a question. Uh, there's people answering them. I think the Discord is pretty friendly, helpful place to be. I've been mining it to put good answers in a knowledge base, which I put in GitHub, just as like, because there's so much stuff you try to scroll and search through here. So I'm like, well, which ones are really cool? Let me start pulling those out. So I've been trying to do that when I'm watching Discord, which I try to do a couple days a week. So
And then I noticed
if
that
I'm bored, I
recently
pop in
you're
there. Oh,
bored. You're
what's going
never
on?
bored, Tim.
Well, something's compiling, you
Okay.
know. I need more computers to compile this.
I noticed that OpenShift questions have been popping in lately. So if anybody out there is an OpenShift expert, because there's a lot of people at Milvus that are not, always would love any kind of guidance on that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, our friends at IBM and Red Hat, I know
Hmm.
you guys are doing Milvus. I know it's pretty straightforward, but if that's not your main place to hang out, that it's helpful. I mean, there are some slight differences from vanilla Kubernetes in there, so send send some help, even if you just have worked with it a little and you want to do some docs. Community is always looking for people for that cool stuff. What else we got? That is a good one. Again, pushing my recent article here. I got another one coming today with some Olympics in it, but that's a work in progress here. I'm testing out my notebook over here. There's there's only a couple of sources of Olympics data out there. I know there'll be more once it's over, but yeah,
And
it's
then I think Stefan, our other Deborah in Berlin, has also been really focused on a lot of. I think his latest one is on multi agents.
yeah,
So
that
he's
one looks
been
really cool. He's got some really cool projects going on. Yeah, I'm always following his stuff going, okay, what's the next one? Because he's got cool stuff. Like you definitely want to check out his stuff he's got going on. The multi-agent stuff is really interesting. That was a webinar yesterday on that,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
that's right.
yeah, if you didn't see that live, you didn't miss it. You could still get through it through Zilla's. And we've got more webinars. I mean, I'm impressed how many webinars we got. I've lined up a couple with some interesting partners, but there's a steady stream of them coming as well as more meetups.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that we've been trying to make sure that we have notebooks that are associated with the topics of the webinar so that, you can play along, right? Because that's how everybody really learns. Just watching somebody, yeah, it's okay, but when you actually have to like, try to, get something to run, making a couple mistakes and then trying to fix them, that is the best learning by far.
Yeah, and it's nice. We make sure you get the video, you get the notebook and any other source code, you get the slides, and usually there's multiple things on that cool topic. So there's also an article, there's also maybe other demos out there. So that's you get to really go deep on a lot of these topics, which there's constantly new ones. You got to really keep your eyes open. I'm like, we were like, oh, this week there's no new models, and then there was like Wednesday there was two new models and two new concepts. It is the pace of innovation is amazing. I mean, I don't know we've been at this speed for innovation before. And I've seen a couple of rounds of it, and I'm like, the last one I thought was pretty fast, but there's so many people like you're like, well, OpenAI just did this, and Google did that, and Microsoft did that, and Claude did this, and Mistral did this, and you're like, wow, there's
That's why it's so important for us to network with each other. So, because it's just too hard to keep up by yourself. You really need to, lean on the community to, find out what are the updates, what people have been working on, what works, what doesn't work for them, and, get everyone's feedback.
very true.
Well,
And
awesome. So, what
yeah.
project do you have for the weekend?
Well, again, more time on this Orin, and I'm thinking ahead to Halloween. I just upgraded my Ghostbusters outfit to have my new Milvus badge on there, and I got to see how we can combine vector AI, especially around vision models, and potentially adding some servos to some of the skeletons. I have three 12-foot skeletons, an 8-foot spider, army of other stuff. we're in an old creepy Victorian in a town that likes to celebrate Halloween, so it's a good place for that. I got to figure out where I could put some AI cameras. We'll have there's definitely some interesting fun stuff for Halloween and just interacting with the real world. Also got something with live planes I've been working on, trying to figure out a good way to find some unstructured things with live plane data.
Nice. So that means we better start thinking about our Halloween costumes. Not you, but the rest of us.
Oh yeah, I've got a
Because we
couple of
don't want to be
options.
left out.
Yeah, you got to think about it. I mean, maybe there's some kind of AI thing coming. Newsletter for next week is in progress. I do it all in GitHub to start. So, I mean, someone want to do a pull request on my newsletter, they could. Someone wants to add stuff. Like, this is the new stuff coming.
That's
Like,
a great idea.
these are all the new tools I found this week. And there's different projects, different AI stuff. Like Microsoft released something that's pretty cool. I mean, every week. I'm like, I'm not gonna find anything this week. This is IBM doing some Milvus stuff, ton of new videos. We got so many events coming. But new cool articles out there. NVIDIA's got a really cool developer example with RAG with Milvus. Uh, Ton of cool stuff out there. 12 Labs is doing some cool stuff with Milvus.
Yeah, 12 Labs is actually going to be at our Palo Alto meetup next week.
Nice, nice. Yeah, you gotta again, if you can't make it to the coast or Berlin, most of the stuff is on YouTube. Definitely go to the Zilla's YouTube. There is uh depth of content there. Really cool stuff.
Cool. All right. Well, I look forward to getting your newsletter. There looks like a couple of links that I'm interested in.
There's a
And
lot of stuff going on.
have fun with your projects. And I'm going to start thinking about my Halloween costume too.
Oh, very cool.
All right, Tim, we'll see you.
Okay, very cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye.